Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we are taking a look at a little expansion for Imperial Settlers called Why Can't We Be Friends? It's a very tiny little package. Let me show you some details. The Why Can't We Be Friends expansion is really quite a small expansion. It comes with 55 cards, which you can either mix right in. You can add in some new common cards, which would just get shuffled into the common deck, and that would be it. And there are faction cards for each faction, each of the 4 factions in the game. And again, you can either mix those right in, or you can do a little deck building. You can customize your deck to a specific configuration you'd like to keep the card count at the original amount if you want. One other thing the game adds is a couple of cards for the solitaire variant to spice that up a little bit. So I'm going to show you first. I'm not really going to go into the common cards, but I will show you one, which is very interesting. This is a new common card, as you can see from the common deck, and this is the only card that's different. And it's a card that is an instant card. So as you can see there, you discard that card to remove an enemy common building from the game, or discard it, and 2 swords to remove an enemy faction building from the game. So pretty nasty stuff, but there's a single one of these in the game, which I actually thought was very strange, inventing a whole new card type for a single card. But I'm sure there will be more of these in the future. Besides that, the interesting new thing in the faction cards is that now you have something that's called open production buildings. And I'll show you a couple of those. As you can see here, an open production building is a building in which you can send a worker to the opponent, and you give them the worker, but then you produce whatever the card produces. In this case, this card is free to build. It's a treasury. It will produce for the player who builds this card 1 gold. But then another player could send a worker here, give the worker to this player, and get a gold themselves. So very interesting. You're making that trade. And this is something that I think is an interesting tactic to add to the game. It really, the Why Can't We Be Friends title is an apt one, I think, because, well, it opens up a whole new avenue of interaction with your opponents. Let me show you a couple of these here real quick. This is the same one. And then this is for a different faction, as you can see there, and it's for a stone. The player who builds this also has a building bonus of 2 stones right away, 1 time. And so that's the main new interaction in the game. Each faction has a different one of these. 3 copies, as you can see. And besides that, there's other cards as well. But that's the main new innovation. The other thing I want to talk about is the solitaire cards that I talked about. The original game comes with these, which allow you to play a game by yourself against basically a randomized opponent. But now, the game includes these 2 cards, which allow you to tinker with that a little bit, and so you can go up against barbarians specifically. And so the virtual player attack phase there would be conducted 3 times instead of 2 times if you go up against barbarians, because they are mean guys. And so you can choose to play against this, or you can do Romans. As you can see there, during the lookout phase, you draw 5 common cards instead of 4, and the virtual player will have 3 in their play area. And so it's just a little tweak to the normal solitaire rules, but I think they're worthwhile, and I'm really happy that those were included, actually. So that's basically it. Some common cards, some new faction cards, a couple of solitaire cards, a little bit more flavor for your Imperial Settlers game. Alright, so there's a little overview of Why Can't We Be Friends. As you can see, a very straightforward expansion. Just more cards, more good stuff for what you already had. The one minor beef I have with the expansion is that I wish the cards were labeled a little more simply to be able to tell them apart. I know this is not going to be the last expansion for this game, and I wish it was a little easier to separate those cards out. Now the rules, here they tell you the new cards, but if there was a little symbol or something which I could not discern on the cards, maybe there isn't, I can't see it, but if there's a little symbol on the cards for me to be able to quickly go through them and pull them out, that would be ideal. But there's not. That's okay, not a big deal. The new cards themselves are really neat. They mix extremely well right into the game. You could deck build, but honestly, the way I like to do it, I just shuffle them right in. And maybe that's because I'm not a super tactician, and I should be doing that, but I think it just, more cards, better. Mix them right in. Those open production buildings are really neat and interesting. Makes you watch your opponents a little bit more, gives you more interactivity, right? Interaction. I think it's a great little expansion. Inexpensive, little box, great stuff. Nothing to complain about, but you know, it's great. If you like this game, you're gonna get it anyway because it's so cheap, right? So get it, mix it right in, and have fun with it. Imperial Settlers, why can't we be friends?
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.